Uh, get some. Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Check out the alerts before I start talking. Clear some messages while I wait a minute to see if anybody moseys on in. Hello, Brett. How you doing? It's pretty bad yesterday. You probably could have stayed longer. And then I had issues with sound and connection and whatnot. And then today you can't stay long. And I really hope that I did not just see what I think I saw. My connection's weird. Well, eventually I hope I can consider this my work. That's why you try and find something to, well, it's weird. I say try and find something to work from home, but then again, over the last, what was it, 3 years, we've seen people transition to working from home because they were forced to, and now companies are trying to get their employees to come back, and the employees don't want to. Um, so I don't know. I'm kind of torn when it comes to suggesting working from home now, because that was something that I was all for, you know, quite a few years ago. But seeing how people have handled it over the last 3 years, it's like I no longer want to suggest to anybody that they work from home. I don't know. It's fucking weird. Let's see. I gotta get all these stupid alerts off my phone because they're gonna annoy me. I can't really work from home. Most of the stuff available. Want a soundproof room, and I don't have that when kids are home. Yeah, I can't say I know that from firsthand experience, but um I know when Amanda and I were doing the podcast on a regular basis, we'd be doing it in the evening, and of course the kids would be home just transitioning into going to bed. So they were a little bit rambunctious. God, I haven't used that word in a long time. But yeah, I can see where the distraction would come in. Um and yeah, you make a good point of wanting to be out of the house to go to work. I think I've probably talked about this before, either on here or on the actual podcast. The guy that my mom was married to the first time she got married several years ago, uh, when they were like dating and then engaged, um, he had like a physical office outside of the home, and for whatever reason, once they got married, he decided to move his entire operation into our basement. Um, which I still, especially, the fact that it was in upstate New York, I still wonder how he got away with that, because the the area that we lived in was zoned for um residential and not commercial, and running a business like that, like he had out of his home, I'm still wondering how he got around all of that, red tape to do that. He knew too many people, I think. But I don't know. I guess as far as that goes, society in and of itself is changing to where people want to work from home, but just the same as I always talk about wanting, or me wanting to move out of New York when I did. Um, if you work from home, the old saying was "Don't shit where you eat." Um, Basically, don't shit where you eat. Don't mix, business with pleasure. Don't take work home with you. That kind of thing. Um, I don't know that the younger generation knows what, my parents and my grandparents told my generation regarding like a work, what is it, a work life home life balance. I don't know if your parents ever expressed that to you. um but that was always something that was instilled in me, is to never bring work home with you, and to have a work, like a healthy work life balance. So I don't understand this push to work from home, because are you saying your parents were farmers? Is that what I'm getting out of that? Oh, okay. I'm surprised that my brain was actually able to process that, you know? That's a win for me for the day, I guess. Um, but and actually, the, the whole topic that I wanted to discuss today is essentially, unless you work for, like a podcast network, um, you generally do your podcast from home. Um, but even even with, with what I do, I don't necessarily know if I consider it work. Maybe because I don't get paid for it. Uh, but I think for me, um, doing the podcast stuff from home and not actually having a studio to go into, I don't know. I mean, ultimately, I'd like to have a studio to go into, but I think for right now, it's just kind of easier for me to learn things at my own pace, in an environment where I can control it, I guess, if that makes sense. Um, but I did find that this particular bit of news that I saw yesterday was interesting. Now, obviously, with this, the morning rant, I don't necessarily consider it a podcast. I suppose it could be classified as one. Um, but as far as my main podcast, Chaos and Conversation, YouTube made an announcement uh, yesterday or the day before that they were going to start making or creating resources for content creators. Let me see if I can share this properly. They're gonna start making resources for um, podcasters um, to be able to have legitimate audio and video podcasts on the platform. There we go. Share screen. Go over here, right there. Make sure I don't hit the wrong button. Boom. There we go. So there is an individual that I've been following for quite some time. Um, when I started making content on YouTube back in 2018 ish. His name's Sean Cannell, and I saw a video he posted talking about YouTube instituting things that would help podcasters put more content on the platform. I've shied away from kind of doing it only because I found that the audio format was a little less time consuming to edit and produce, whereas with video it was kind of annoying at first. But it looks like they're going to be um, rolling out resources so that uh, podcasts will appear in video form if you so choose on your actual YouTube page, but the audio version of your podcast will end up being available through YouTube Music, from what I understand. And they're going to be rolling out a monetization policy, hopefully very soon. I think they said that's going to come next year. But this is the article that Sean was reading, and I kind of just wanted to go through it uh, and see what everybody thinks. Says on YouTube, a podcast show is a playlist, which it makes sense. Obviously, if somebody like Markiplier or Jacksepticeye, when they're pretty primarily gamers, but if they have several videos where they're only playing one game, they'll put them in a playlist. Um, and you see that playlist, and you can access all those videos in one you know controlled area. But I think with this, at least from what I've seen over on my Chaos channel, um, it's going to allow that playlist to be specifically designated as a podcast, which I think is great. Um, the one thing that surprised me though was that it seems statistically right now that a lot of people are getting their podcasts from YouTube, which shocked me because when I think of podcasts, I think of kind of the radio shows that you would listen to on car rides when you were traveling with family, or if you're traveling on your own. Um, podcasts to me were always something that you listen to on the radio or, at least in your car while you were traveling. So, um, obviously you can't watch videos when you're traveling. Um, so I don't know if podcasts have officially evolved or it's weird to me, but let's continue this. Says on YouTube, podcasts or a podcast is shown or a podcast show, there we go, is a playlist. And podcast episodes are videos in that playlist. Um, your podcast should only contain full-length episodes organized in the order that they should be consumed. If your podcast has multiple seasons, include them in the same podcast. Um, I can understand that to a point. Uh, I think that you should be able to separate each season into a playlist. And the only reason I say that is because a couple months back, I started rewatching the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers series. And I think if all three original seasons um, ended up in one single playlist, uh, it would have been overwhelming because anybody who grew up in the 90s and remembers the original Mighty Morphin series, the first season alone, I believe, had something like 60 episodes. Um, Now compare that with the show that uh, spawned Power Rangers, which is called Super Sentai over in Japan. They had something like 50. So when Saban brought Power Rangers over here, he somehow stretched Mighty Morphin into three seasons, and ended up taking footage from different seasons from Super Sentai. So a lot of the Power Rangers that weren't necessarily supposed to be in that iteration ended up being in our American version. But as far as the playlists go, when I've been watching the Power Rangers series over again, or at least the original series, uh, it's easier that they are separated by season into different playlists because even though there's maybe 40 or 50 episodes, it I think if it were all in one playlist, it would be very, like I said, overwhelming. So I don't necessarily like that you put all of your seasons in one. Um, and then you have to, put the newest one at the top, and I don't know. I think that's just I don't know that that is productive, but I don't know. We'll see how it works. It says podcast creators are eligible for the following perks: uh, pod podcast specific discovery and recommendation features, making it easier for your audience to find your podcast. Now, what I've seen, especially when I was watching Sean's video about it and the independent uh, research that I've done on my own, there is now youtube.com/podcasts where it literally lists everything that is classified or listed as a podcast, which makes it easy. I like the layout that they have for that specific URL. It's nice over there. It's nice on that page, so it's really clean looking. Um, Official search cards. I'm not sure what those are yet. I'll have to do some more research and find out what those are because I don't know what search cards are necessarily yet. Um, and right there it says the option to be featured on youtube.com/podcast. Badges on your podcasts and videos. That I don't know what that is yet either. I don't know if they've officially rolled that out. Ooh, try not to yawn. Your podcast will also be available to YouTube Music users. Some playlists aren't eligible for podcast features, even if you designate them as podcasts. Ineligible includes, but is not limited to, content that isn't owned by its creator. That's pretty self-explanatory. If you have footage of things that you're showing in your videos, um, it may not be eligible for podcast because it's copyrighted stuff that isn't yours. However, I think that they should kind of have a loophole there as far as when it goes to the audio version, because you're not going to see, although you could probably hear um, the copyrighted stuff if it's audio, if the copyrighted material you're showing has audio in it. So I don't know. Maybe that's good. Maybe it isn't. Um, let's see. There and that's another thing right there, as you can see on the screen. YouTube.com/podcast is only available in the US. That'll probably change maybe by next year, depending on how successful this rollout is. Podcast inclusion in the YouTube Music app is coming soon to creators in the US. That is why I couldn't find it the other day, because it's not here yet. That makes sense. And then it says learn how to create a podcast on YouTube. If you are a YouTube content creator, all you have to do is go into your YouTube studio, and where you have where in the content tab where you have like videos, live, your live streams and such. There's going to be another tab in there on that screen for podcasts. I've already started it over on my Chaos channel for Chaos and Conversation, because I did a new episode for the podcast the other day solo. I'll put the YouTube link for that in the description. I don't think I did already, but I will put that in there for the description. But I think they also said, I don't know if they said that it's going to happen this year or if it's going to happen next year, because figure we're only in March of 2023. They would be smart to kind of roll it out by fall of 2023 instead of waiting until next year. But they said that there will be monetization guidelines that are rolled out hopefully soon. Let's see, stop sharing. So YouTube is known for doing a split with their content creators that has been overall favorable from what I understand from other the way that other creators have spoken about it. So when it comes to podcasting, I'm hoping that the uh the favorability toward the content creator is still there, but we shall see. I don't know. I just wanted to get on here and talk about that because I mean, as I've said many times before, I'm really anxious to get back into doing podcast episodes with Amanda, um, and just kind of get back into doing that. I actually started this just to kind of keep myself busy, because being dormant was driving me nuts. But if you guys would like to help us get further into what YouTube is rolling out for podcasts, so we can start exploring it and see what it has to offer. There are donation links in the description. There are merch links. Be extremely grateful if you could help us out, because content creation, creativity, it's kind of really what is keeping us going. And we have a lot that we're working on right now that we want to show you guys, but we need to have, that little bit of help along the way. So if you guys wouldn't mind, just go into the description, see what links are down there, and help in any way you can. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button over here, and uh, maybe in the next episode, I will put the link for the podcast going forward while I'm doing things over here on my personal channel. But yeah, if you end up watching this after the fact, if you watch all the way through, let me know what you think. Do you get your podcasts from YouTube, or do you still listen on, platforms like Spotify, iHeartRadio, you know, platforms like that? Is it true that more podcasts are being consumed on YouTube than in any other platform right now? Because YouTube seems to want to make us believe that statistically people are getting their podcasts from YouTube. So let me know. I just wanted to do a quick, live today. But yeah, I will see you tomorrow, because there's some other stories I found. We're probably going to go over a couple of stories tomorrow. But I will see you tomorrow bright and early.